The WNBA Players Association only had one good thing happen with the CBA talks. You want to know what that was? Caitlin Clark showed up. She is one of the 40 players that showed up that weren't representing any team. She was just there. That's the only good thing that happened out of the CBA talks. And it's all the Players Association's fault. You want to know why? Because there are other things they could be talking about with the owners that could actually start getting things headed their way. But they're not. These women are sitting there not understanding what they have to do to make it so that they can be something better. And you want to know what? If I was Caitlin Clark, I wouldn't even be caring about what the other players are doing other than the people on her team that have her back. Why? Because these players are constantly attempting to hurt her. Not all of them are. I don't see Stewie attempting to. I don't see Sabrina Ionescu attempting to. But there are so many out there that are attempting to hurt her. Then, past what's happening to Caitlin Clark, you have people like Dejanay Carrington. You have people that keep talking about bringing Kennedy Carter back. Neither one of those players should be in any kind of serious league. You have players that are intentionally trying to hurt other players in the league. Well, I'm going to give you three things that should have been talked about. Okay, yes, there is a third pillar or a fourth pillar that is Caitlin Clark, but she was there. She was listening. So that's a good thing for her. Not so much a good thing for the rest of the players if they keep acting the way they do, because Caitlin Clark is one of those players they should be attempting to protect. I know that sounds weird. I'm not saying that they should be trying to let her win every game. I am saying they should be trying to protect her. She is the Jordan of this generation. She is the Wilt Chamberlain of this generation. She's the Dr. J of the WNBA. And instead, she's being pushed down every chance everybody has. But let's look at the other three pillars that should be talked about. Also, if you don't mind, hit like, subscribe, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, or Rumble. Here we go.
Hey folks, this is Paul with Redneck Sports. I want to thank you for viewing my video, and I want to give you one thought process. There was a famous coach at the University of Tennessee by the name of General Robert Neyland. He had 6 maxims, but number 2 maxim is what everybody should apply to their life. Play for and make the breaks. When one comes your way, score. That's how to live your life right there.
Okay, the first pillar that needs to be talked about. That is, the players should be talking about how they need or what they need to do to work with the owners to make everything more marketable. Right now, they have a marketing issue. The NBA is getting a lot of press, and a lot of people are paying attention to the NBA, whereas how many people are actually talking about the WNBA? Yes, I'm talking about it. That's because I love women's basketball. If you haven't been to one of my videos before, I happen to love women's basketball. Padhead Summit is the reason. Yes, I am a Tennessee redneck, and watching the Lady Balls was an amazing thing growing up. I am 50 years old, and that woman was one of the people I idolized growing up. And when you're from East Tennessee and you're idolizing women's basketball as a young man, that should give you the impact that a person can have when they do things properly. That's not what's being done in the WNBA. Yes, they are trying to market these players, but they're not making that big of an impact right now. Right now, you take the Washington Mystics, who, by the way, I love watching. I love Sonia Citron. I like several of the other players. But here's the thing. right now they're playing on a court named for an insurance company, Care First, who is having their own problems. And I wouldn't have, but hey, it's corporate sponsorship. That's a good thing. But what else good is there coming from that? New York Liberty are having to talk about possibly building their own stadium or basketball court somewhere else in New York City. They should be talking about how to get themselves into Madison Square Garden every night and trying to fill that up. But instead, they're talking about building another basketball arena. That's not a good thing because, well, you have to stay in New York, and this is an expensive town. So being able to associate yourself with Madison Square Garden is a good thing. LA Sparks are needing to be better. That's another one of those markets that can help the WNBA. But take a look at what the Sparks are right now. The Sparks are not that good of a team. They're not bringing in that many people. Hey, they've got Kelsey Plum, who, in all honesty, is marketable. They've got Cameron Brink, who's injured, but is doing things outside of basketball that is bringing eyes to her. So that's a good thing. But most of these teams have very little marketing ability. Las Vegas Aces have some because it's Las Vegas. This is a perfect place to have a sports team. That's a market that, hey, people come to Las Vegas. If they get a chance to get to go to the game, that's a really good thing. But for the most part, most of the WNBA is barely paid attention to. Paige Beckers, yes, is a bright and shining thing for the WNBA, but she's on a team in Dallas that not even got a good coach. That's not marketable because they're losing. Not to mention Dejanay Carrington. You go to these games and you see Dejanay Carrington grabbing somebody by the hair, which he has done multiple times, and yanking them down to the floor. You don't want to watch that in a game. You watch that in a wrestling match. You don't watch that in a basketball game. Connecticut Sun, thankfully they're about to get bought and taken to Boston, even though Connecticut should have been a decent place to have a team, but it's really not. You have a marketing issue, and these players should have been talking about marketing. They should have gone in there and said, hey, how can we work together to market the league better? They think it should all be handed to them. Well, I hate to tell you this, but the NBA had a marketing problem for a long time. Yes, there was George Mikan. Yes, there was Wilt Chamberlain. Even though the Boston Celtics during the time of Wilt Chamberlain were far better of a team, Wilt Chamberlain was far more marketable. But at the same time, Bill Russell, Oscar Robertson, Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Willis Reed, all of these players were amazing players, but they were not marketable like Wilt Chamberlain. So the WNBA marketed Wilt Chamberlain. Before that, they marketed George Mikan. And then during the 70s, you had Kareem Abdul Jabbar, who should be considered in the GOAT talk, but it was Dr. J that was exciting players. And then you had the 1978, I think it was, NBA Men's Basketball Championship. You had Magic Johnson versus Larry Bird. And then that drama came into the league, and all of a sudden it exploded. And the NBA, at every step of the way, knew what they were doing when it came to marketing because they got lucky in some instances. But in a lot of other instances, they went, hey, we've got a marketing dream. And the WNBA is not doing that. The WNBA Players Association isn't doing that. And so you have the problem that you have now. That's one pillar. The second pillar that should have been talked about, you have the NBA owning 60% of the league because Well, the WNBA has no ability to keep going as a league. They haven't been able to. They have been losing millions every year. So, marketing starts bringing in fans, which brings in money, which you can then see about decreasing the amount of ownership that the NBA has in the WNBA. Players are not going to get the pay that they want unless the WNBA owns 100% of itself. Right now, the WNBA only owns 40% of itself. The NBA isn't making any money. The WNBA isn't making any money. So nobody's making any money. So the marketing has to bring in the money. And there has to be a viable plan to start buying out the NBA ownership. Either that or let them buy it 100% and let them run it everything because the NBA is a far better ran league. Yes, they have their problems, but honestly, there is no valid path for the players to get paid that much more money until the NBA gets paid. None of that makes sense in any business standpoint. So, the players should have gone in there and said, okay, we know we can't get paid much. What we need to do is start working to get money so we can start buying back the 60% that the NBA owns. They didn't do that. No. So they don't understand how that goes. I guess they think that the NBA still needs to keep funneling money into there so they can get paid more and more money, even though nobody can afford it. Nobody. If you're not making any money, you're not going to be able to get paid more. The, this should have been a second pillar of their talk. They should have gone, hey, how can we lower the percentage that the NBA owns even if it's a gradual process? What can we do? Because if you do that, then the players can start getting paid more money because that means that there's money coming in. I know for people that aren't business related, they don't fully understand this, but it's an important thing in this business right now. NBA has been shelling out charity to the WNBA. Because of that, they've been getting ownership in the WNBA. The NBA is highly profitable, even though they're starting to go down a path that is idiotic themselves. You've got to start talking about how to get the NBA out of the WNBA and for the WNBA to stand on its own. Until you do that, there is nothing else. So that's a second pillar. Let's talk about the last pillar that should have been discussed. And this is something that is helping make the games unwatchable on top of the fact so many other reasons why WNBA is unwatchable. But you've got officials calling the games that quite honestly are horrific. I watch these games and go, why wasn't that called? Why wasn't that called? Why wasn't that called? And then when they do make calls, you're sitting there going, how was that a call? I mean, the New York Liberty have been getting so many ghost calls in their favor that you're just sitting there going, okay, why was that called? There was nothing that happened there. Even in the replays, you watch it and you go, why was that called? I just saw something. There is a ref who basically acts like he's got a grudge against certain players. And I care less what his name is because refs should not be so famous that you know their name. Refs should be out there doing their job and being what it is. If they make a call and it's good, then you should go, okay, awesome. If they don't make a call, at that point, you're probably going to learn their name. We shouldn't be learning these people's names. Yes, they had some training at the beginning of this year, but well, it didn't seem to have worked because well, the games this year is that they're bad. We do not, as fans, need to have that happen, and the players should realize that these reps need to be better. You want a better quality product? Well, the reps are part of that better quality product, and the player should be going, yeah, we need to talk about this because it's making the games talked about for the wrong reasons. When the games are being talked about for the wrong reasons, it causes people not to want to watch the games. I have talked about the refs before, and I'm going to continue to talk about them. Why? Because they are causing problems. And the Players Association should have been sitting there going, hey, we need this to stop. If they don't stop it, well, you're going to have the problems that you've got right now, which is nobody cares about the game. I am watching this league and I am going, hey, I like women's basketball, but I do not like seeing what I am seeing on the court. And the refs are compounding this issue. Half the time that I'm watching these games and I'm going, what in the world are the refs doing? I should be watching it because I want to see Caitlin Clark doing logo threes. I should be watching it because I want to see what Brittany Griner, who, even though I am only somewhat liking of her, not really liking of her, and this has nothing to do with Russia. Russia just compounded the issue with me. It's a simple fact of she played for the Baylor team that beat Head Summit in her last game at the University of Tennessee. It was during the NCAA's, and well, that's one of those situations. It's unfair, I'm well aware, but Brittany Griner is actually someone who could be named as, one of the most dominant centers of the WNBA of all time, but she has too much baggage. But at least when she's on the court, she's worth sometimes paying attention to. I watched the WNBA for Candace Parker. I love me some Candace Parker. I'm a Tennessee fan. Of course, I'm a Candace Parker fan. I have watched because of Tennessee. There are people that watch because of UConn. There seems to be too much of a UConn tax. But you watch these players and you're sitting there going, what are the refs doing? And it takes away from the excitement of the game. How can you watch a game in which the refs sit there and refuse to make calls that are quite obviously something that somebody should be fouled for? We need to get to the point where the officials are doing their jobs properly. And that is definitely something that should have been discussed at the CBA. Look, I want the WNBA to succeed. The sad part is, I don't think that the WNBA wants the WNBA to succeed. I am not even certain that the WNBA Players Association wants the WNBA to succeed. I mean, honestly, you're asking for a feast in the middle of a famine. Okay, that famine seems to be getting relieved, but it really isn't. In a business sense, there are still so many things that have to be handled. A lot of things that need to be handled. You need proper training facilities for these players. You need better marketing. You need better officiating. You need players that when you're watching the game can score more than once every 5 minutes. And yes, I have watched games which I have literally timed it, and it was 5 minutes between times that they scored. You need people that are going to sit there and do their level headed best to make the product that is the WNBA marketable on a level that people want to watch it. Right now, they're playing at the right time, which is the summertime. I can discuss the WNBA because they are a summer league. But I hate to tell you this, but the summer league of the NBA is doing far more by being far less of drama filled. And no, it's not because it's guys. It's because the NBA already has that settled. They've already got everything done right. It shouldn't be that difficult to get the WNBA to actually be something that is worth talking about from somebody more than a women's basketball fanatic. And that's what I am. I love me some women's basketball. And I've already explained why. People that are fans of UConn, even though I dislike UConn, I dislike Dean Oriamo, that still brings some fanatics. Case in point was the dude that was stalking Paige Beckers that actually flew there and was trying to hitchhike there that got arrested because he was stalking the young lady. You need to have more than what you've got. You've got to have broadcasting that you can watch and get into. In other words, you need a Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny Smith, and Ernie Johnson type show. Not exactly, don't copy it exactly, but you need that kind of energy. I watch WNBA shows, and other than, like, say, listening to Stephen Smith, none of the actual WNBA shows are worth watching. I watch officiating. That is horrific. I watch players that are screaming they need more money, and then they turn around and their primary money maker, they go after her physically and injured her 3 times this year. Comes a point where some common sense needs to be brought in, and ain't none of that happening right now. But hey, that's up to you how you consider it. Real quick, yes, like and subscribe and all that fun stuff for me. I have a link tree in the description of this video. I have a Patreon in that. If you don't mind, if you would like to see me bring you better quality videos, I need a little bit of help. Um, I got a budget, $3,000, but it's only like a couple of bucks a month on my Patreon. If you would be so kind, if you can. I'm not, if you can't, then okay, fine. I can understand that. Hitting like and subscribe and all that fun stuff will help me out just as well. This has been Paul with Redneck Sports. Y'all have a good day now. Bye.
I want to thank you for watching my video. And if you like what you saw, like, subscribe, and comment. Y'all have a good day now.